South Coast residents and businesses considering class action suit against the Water Authority over ongoing sewage mess. That's our top story in our Barbados Today morning news update for Friday, December the 8th. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Thanks for joining us. Residents and businesses on the South Coast are considering filing a class action suit against the government-owned Barbados Water Authority for losses incurred by the ongoing sewage overflows, which health authorities admit are a potential health hazard. At least two frustrated businessmen, one of which is also a resident, told Barbados Today they are ready and willing to follow the advice of Queen's Counsel and opposition Barbados Labour Party candidate for Christchurch South, Ralph Thorne, to sue the BWA. Thorne's advice came during a press conference yesterday, which was shared by his colleagues from Christchurch West, Dr. William Duguid, and Christchurch East, Wilfred Abrams, outside the Worthing Post Office that was closed due to the sewage stench.
I would suggest that business houses, not only residents, business houses should contact their lawyers, because it is clear that BWA is not intending to do anything, and the first order of business resides with courtesy. I think they're obligated to have some courtesy and tell Barbadians what stage we're at, how long this problem is going to persist for. They haven't done that. Well, if they have not done that, I am inviting residents and business houses who are directly affected by this scourge to speak to their lawyer as urgently as tomorrow and get a letter off to them. As I said earlier, the Public Works Ministry, they are compensating people because they accept their responsibility. It is time that Barbados Water Authority begins to accept its legal responsibility.
Dr. Duguid called on Prime Minister Frandil Stewart to intervene urgently to fix what he called a national disaster.
Exposure to sewage gives you a significant risk of gastroenteritis, hepatitis A, significant enterovirus problems, significant retrovirus problems, Escherichia coli bacteria, and a whole host of problems with diarrhea and all sorts of issues that can be a major health issue. No wonder we're having a big problem with gastroenteritis in Barbados. When people are walking by, people are being splashed, you get the bacteria and the viruses on your car and your car wheels, and then you carry that home. A child touches it and they get all sorts of problems. And this has been an issue that's been going on for 12 months.
For Abrams, top officials in the Ministry of Health need to advise the public on what to do to protect itself in light of what he described as an environmental disaster.
Somebody needs to come and advise how to deal with this. What precautions should people be taking? The chief medical officer needs to come to the public of Barbados and advise them. Has it contaminated the groundwater? What are the possible areas of concern? What should people who have to use this area be doing? They should at least advise them sanitize all the time, wash off your shoes with bleach, things like that.
The sewage overflows have had a serious impact on the health of resident and businessman Ray George's family, which also resulted in the closure of his Worthing catering business.
For the last 3 weeks, we've been going to the doctors and taking blood tests, and it's not good. It's not good at all.
What has the doctor said?
Well, they have a virus. There's a virus in the system, and we're trying our best to see what we could do. The last 2 weeks, we spent over $1,000 on blood tests and every kind of tests.
In other news now, Barbados has signed on to an OAS-instigated regional initiative on child labor. Speaking on the sidelines of the inaugural session of the Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labour at Hilton Resort last evening, Minister of Labour Dr. Esther Bayasuku said the move by Barbados was to ensure it nipped any chance of child labour occurring in the bud.
We don't have a challenge so much with child labor, but it is to ensure that we set the platform for preventing child labor here. We can't be looking at all other kinds of labor issues and then have slipped through the crack the issue of child labor.
Dr. Bayasuku also said that government has to embark on programs to sensitize the country on the signs of children who might be used as drug runners or prostitutes.
We have to keep it on our radar. because we do know that there are things happening in our community, in our society, that we have not been really happy about, and we know that if we're not careful, there could be the opportunity for our young kids to end up working as drug runners, for people to put the kids out there in prostitution and so on. So we have to begin programs of sensitization. As I said, because we can't just pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, we don't have a problem. We have to sensitize the community so that we are aware that when you see little children out on the streets at night, pay attention, see what that might be that's going on.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Welcome back with news from the region now. Antiguans have been told there is no need to panic in light of a rise in gun crimes and murders that have surged to 19 so far this year. The assurance has come from Public Safety Minister Ted Roy Benjamin, who says that though the murder rate in Antigua has skyrocketed, it still is the lowest in the sub-region.
The government knows what's happening. We are dealing with it. There's no need to panic. You will see the police presence in your neighborhoods. You'll see the cars flashing all over the place. And we're asking the neighbors, if you see anything, say something.
A resolute assurance from the minister fresh from his attendance at key regional discussions on security issues at a meeting in the Dominican Republic. The meeting examined crime trends and crime statistics across the region. Data were revealed showing Antigua and Barbuda's murder rate has reached 18.6 per 100,000, an all-time high. However, it is still lower than all the countries referenced in the report by Robert Curley entitled Caribbean Murder Rates 2017. Jamaica has a rate of 41 per 100,000, 38 per 100,000 in St. Kitts Nevis, 35 per 100,000 in Trinidad and Tobago, and 25 per 100,000 in St. Lucia, and 22 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And on the international scene, the militant group Hamas has called for a new uprising against Israel and a day of rage today. Clashes erupted across West Bank yesterday as Palestinians protested against U.S. President Donald Trump's recognition of the disputed city of Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
Palestinian businesses were shuttered in East Jerusalem on Thursday as a strike was called to protest against President Trump's decision to recognize the city as Israel's capital. While there was violence across the West Bank, people in Jerusalem chose to peacefully, if noisily, protest. What Trump said is not going to change or erase the history. Jerusalem's an Arabic city and will remain one forever. Who gave the green light to Trump to do this to Jerusalem? Unfortunately, I think the other Arab leaders did it with their silence and carelessness. The protesters at the Damascus Gate, one of the main entrances to the old city, were eventually moved on by Israeli troops. Because it attracts large crowds and has a heavy Israeli security presence, it has become a favoured target for terrorist attacks.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper email updates or like us on Facebook. We are also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic day.